In literature, the short story has proved highly popular among avid readers. However, it's often been difficult to expand a short narrative into an effective feature-length screenplay. As such, multiple stories combined within a single picture has become an acceptable compromise. A compilation of mini-movies that showcase a variety of stories, typically presented within a wraparound narrative, the anthology-style movie has been dominated by the horror genre. Seldom explored by Hollywood and often yielding lackluster results, the easy-to-digest format has become highly favored by horror fans and over time has produced some outstanding movies. So join me as I count down the top 10 anthology movies. For this list, I'll be looking at the very best examples of horror anthology movies. There's no rules here. If the movie contains multiple self-contained stories, it's eligible for this list. So let's begin. Number 10. Starting this list is the 1997 made-for-TV movie Quicksilver Highway. Hosted by Christopher Lloyd as traveling storyteller Aaron Quicksilver, the two stories contained within were penned by the horror masters Stephen King and Clive Barker respectively. The Cheddary Teeth, it tells the story of a hitchhiker and a highly strung transporter who, among fighting with themselves, fall prey to sentient Cheddary Teeth. And secondly, The Body Politic by Clive Barker, starring Matt Frewer of Max Headroom fame, who falls victim to an extreme case of alien hand syndrome. Presented in a goofy and oddly charming fashion, Quicksilver Highway also serves as a fun introduction to low-budget horror. Number 9. As the cinematic adaptation of the TV series, Tales from the Darkside the movie would go above and beyond with its impressive effects and reputable actors. Trying to keep his cannibal captor occupied, soon-to-be-eaten Timmy tells her three twisted tales. Lot 249, which follows the resurrection of an ancient mummy, which is controlled to be an assassin. Cat from Hell, which follows a hired hitman charged with exterminating a demonic cat. And finally Lover's Vow, a retelling of the Japanese short, The Woman of the Snow. Also featuring one of the greatest transformation sequences of the 90s, Tales from the Darkside the movie made an impressive use of its small budget and remains a fan favorite. Number 8. Featuring Jeffrey Combs as H.P. Lovecraft, Necronomicon tells three condensed and updated adaptations of the original horror master's short tales. Upon discovering the Necronomicon in a coveted library, the stories contained within the book become the segments of the movie. Containing the iconic dark fantasy of the original writing, the shorts explore the grief of accidentally killing a loved one, the quest for immortality, and the secret existence of a carnivorous alien species, all presented with a campy yet impressively dark intensity. Featuring outstanding practical effects and great atmosphere, Necronomicon is sadly an overlooked anthology movie which is worthy of much greater recognition. Number 7. From probably the most iconic horror TV series of all time, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone the movie would flesh out several of the series' most favored episodes. Although opening with two mediocre segments, the latter half of the picture is where the movie truly shines. Produced by Steven Spielberg and John Landis, It's a Good Life tells the story of an omnipotent boy and the exploration of his family life and deadly innocence. The highlight of the movie being the final segment, originally starring William Shatner in arguably the series' most popular episode, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet stars John Lithgow as an air passenger who witnesses the destruction of the plane's turbine by what is only referred to as a gremlin. Also featuring a notable appearance from Dan Aykroyd, Twilight Zone the movie was an instant hit with fans of the series. Number 6. Within the collective vignettes of VHS and VHS2 lay some of the most effective horror shorts in modern cinema. Also appearing in the top 10 found footage movies, these amateur format shorts cover an impressive range of POV-style horror. Starting the episodes with the often discussed Amateur Night, of the remaining segments are many that deserve individual recognition. 103198, which follows gatecrashers at a demonic summoning, a ride in the park that gives a first-person perspective of a recently turned zombie, and Safe Haven, a documentary that covers a cult's raising of the devil. And although split throughout two movies, within these vignettes lies an outstanding anthology movie. Number 5. From the master of horror John Carpenter comes Body Bags, 3 short tales penned by the man himself and Tobe Hooper. Hosted by Carpenter as an eccentric coroner telling the tales of the cadaver's final moments, the stories include The Gas Station, a student working the night shift comes under attack from a serial killer, Hair, a man obsessed with preventing baldness undergoes an extreme procedure, and finally The Eye, starring Mark Hamill as the recipient of a donor eye which once belonged to a psychopath. Peppered with a host of cameos from acclaimed horror personalities, Body Bags was mostly overlooked by the mainstream media, but has since grown an impressive cult following. Number 4. The hidden gem that became a cult hit, Trick or Treat was one of the most praised under-the-radar horror features of 2007. All sharing the setting of a single Halloween night, the 4 shorts would explore a diverse range of horror including an everyday man serial killer, childlike killer ghouls, and an impressive reimagining of the classic fable, Little Red Riding Hood. Most memorable would be the home invasion segment. Starring Brian Cox as a man who's tormented by the now iconic Sam. As a hater of children and Halloween, he must make an offering to the demon child to save his life. All managing to deliver original and entertaining mini-stories, Trick or Treat has since earned cult status and become mandatory Halloween viewing. Number 3. Containing 3 short stories from 3 acclaimed directors, including Chan-wook Park and Takashi Miike, 3 Extremes became arguably the most popular anthology movie of the 2000s. Overlooking the often covered dumplings, Cut tells the twisted story of a bitter actor who takes out his frustrations on the firing director, forcing him into vile acts in order to save his wife. And finally Box, which tells the story of a contortionist twin sister, haunted by the spirit of her deceased sibling. The short reveals the twisted circumstances surrounding her death. Tragic, disturbing, and darkly beautiful, 3 Extremes impressed many cinemagoers on initial release and remains a highly praised anthology picture. Number 2. Topping the top 10 Japanese horror movie list, Kwaidan is by far the best made movie on this list, but only the penultimate example of anthology horror. Released in 1964, the cinematic adaptation of 4 Japanese folklore tales was greeted with immediate praise. Beautifully directed by Masaki Kobayashi, the picture would perfectly encapsulate the magic and wonder of its respective periods. Exploring themes of greed, impairment, and insanity, the movie would also present the first cinematic adaptation of the previously mentioned The Woman of the Snow. Literally translating to ghost stories, Kwaidan is a movie to please almost any cinephile. However, to the humble horror fan, there is only one picture to rule them all. If you enjoyed Demented Top Tens, show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button, and be sure to subscribe to keep up with the channel. Also, have you seen future Top Tens and follow Demented Pictures on Facebook, or consider supporting the show on Patreon. Links in the description box below. Number 1. From the combined talents of 2 of the biggest names in horror comes the collaboration of George Romero and Stephen King with Creepshow. Released in 1982, the movie was originally conceived as a passion project to pay homage to King's love of horror comic books of the 1950s. Comprised of 5 shorts, the movie would also use a schlock cinema comic book format to present the segments, which would ultimately knock down First Blood and top the US box office. Starring a plethora of great actors from Ed Harris, Ted Danson, to a surprisingly intimidating performance from Leslie Nielsen, the movie would also feature the talents of FX master Tom Savini. From the over-the-top acting chops of Stephen King to the social satire of George Romero, Creepshow is a perfectly balanced anthology movie featuring all the silliness and scares to satisfy any horror fan. So there was my list. Were there any I missed? Which horror anthology movies do you love the most? Leave a comment below, and be sure to check out some of these other top 10s on screen now. And as always, this is Mike from Demented Pictures saying, may your movies be bloody and your scares be shitless.